Ready to talk English easily? Hit subscribe for helpful advice and fun ways to practice. I was never one to chase after dreams, always playing it safe, staying within the familiar borders of my life. My days were filled with routines. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. I had dreams once, of course, but I tucked them away, thinking they were too impractical, too risky. That was until I met Sarah. Sarah was different. She was like a burst of color in a world of gray. We met on a chilly autumn day at a small cafe, where I was reading quietly, and she was scribbling something on a napkin. She looked up, caught my gaze, and smiled, a kind, open smile that felt like sunlight on a cold day. From that moment, my life started to change. As we got to know each other, Sarah would often talk about her dreams. She was a musician, always carrying her guitar and humming tunes. She'd play at local gigs, sometimes for nothing but the joy of it. She was full of life and passion, qualities I hadn't seen in myself for years. She believed in following her heart, even when the path was uncertain. Her courage amazed me. One evening, after a particularly beautiful performance, she handed me a small notebook. "Write down your dreams," she said. "No matter how small or impossible they seem." I laughed at first, thinking it was silly. But later that night, I opened the notebook and wrote down one simple wish: to live a life that feels like my own. Months passed, and my connection with Sarah grew deeper. She taught me the importance of trying, of taking steps toward what made me feel alive, even if it was uncomfortable.
He started sketching again.
A hobby I'd abandoned long ago, and even took a chance to present a project at work that I believed in. Sarah's support lifted me, helping me step out of my comfort zone. She'd say, "Life is too short to live with regrets." And those words stayed with me. One day, Sarah handed me another note. This one read, "Chase your dreams, even when I'm not around to remind you." I didn't understand why she wrote it that way, but I tucked the note into my wallet as a keepsake. A few weeks later, Sarah had to leave for a year-long music tour. Felt like a bittersweet goodbye, but her words lingered. I knew she would want me to keep pushing forward, to live with courage. With her absence, I continued to find strength in her lessons. I met new people, explored new interests, and found a spark in my work. Each day, I felt a little more like the person I'd always wanted to become. A year later, Sarah returned. When we met again, I felt like I was meeting her as a new version of myself, a version that wasn't afraid to take risks, to live fully. And as I looked into her eyes, I knew that I had fulfilled the promise of her last note: to chase my dreams and make my life my own. Moral: the last note reminded me that true growth comes from within. Surround yourself with people people who inspire you, and take steps toward a life that feels like your own. Embrace dreams and live without regrets. For life is too precious to let it slip by. Let's enrich our vocabulary with some new words. Chase. To pursue or go after something one desires. Example, I was never one to chase after dreams, always playing it safe. Routine. A regular, repeated way of doing things. Habits or schedules. Example, my days were filled with routines. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. Familiar. Well-known. Something you recognize or feel comfortable with. Example, I stayed within the familiar borders of my life. Afraid of change. Impractical. Not sensible or realistic. Example, I thought my dreams were too impractical and risky to pursue. Gaze. A steady or intense look. Example, she looked up, caught my gaze, and smiled warmly. Passion. A strong feeling or desire for something, often related to a dream or hobby. Example, Sarah's passion for music inspired me to chase my own dreams. Courage. The ability to face fear or take risks. Example, her courage to follow her dreams amazed me. Notebook. A small book for writing notes, ideas, or reminders. Example, Sarah handed me a notebook to write down my dreams. Comfort zone. A situation or space where one feels safe and in control. Example, she encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone and try new things. Regret. A feeling of sadness or disappointment about something one wishes had been different. Example, Sarah said, life is too short to live with regrets. Keepsake. An item kept to remember someone or something special. Example, I kept her note in my wallet as a keepsake. Absence. The state of someone not being present. Example, with her absence, I continued to find strength in her words. Bittersweet. A mix of happy and sad feelings. Example, her leaving for the music tour felt like a bittersweet goodbye. Growth. The process of developing or improving oneself. Example, I found personal growth in trying new things and following my dreams. Inspire. To motivate or encourage someone to feel or do something positive. Example, surrounding myself with people who inspire me made me braver. Spark. A feeling of excitement or interest that motivates action. Example, I found a spark in my work that made me feel more alive. Version. A form of oneself, sometimes changed or improved. Example, I felt like a new version of myself when Sarah returned. Fulfill. To achieve or carry out something. To make something come true. Example, I knew I had fulfilled the promise of her last note. Lingering. Something that stays or continues for a long time. Example, her words lingered in my mind, encouraging me daily. Precious. Something of great value. Cherished. Example, life is too precious to let it slip by without pursuing our dreams.
On this channel, I'll continue to provide you with the tools and resources you need to improve your English for completely free. So, subscribe, stay with me, and let's keep learning together. Remember, learning a language is a journey. It takes time and effort, but if you keep practicing, you will get better. Believe in yourself, stay motivated, and don't give up. You can do it.